Call the Park Board for the City of Fall River, April 5th, meeting of 2021 into order. Roll call of commissioners.
Jeffrey Sawyer.
Amber Burns.
Victor Farias.
Helen Rigo.
Joseph De Silva. Acceptance of minutes.
Motion to accept.
Second. Joey, you got to say.
Yep, I know. Reading of the open meeting law. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Do we have any citizen input?
Joe, you need to state the date of the minutes.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Acceptance of meetings for March 3rd, 2021. Do I have a motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Okay. Roll call. Commissioner Sylvia.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Farias.
Yes.
Commissioner Rigo.
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia, yes. No citizen input, you said. New business. I actually like to take need a motion to take item
I'll make a motion to take items O, P, and Q
out of order. Have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Have a second? Roll call vote. Commissioner Farias.
Yes.
Commissioner Rigo.
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner De Silva, yes. Chris, want to come down?
So the first one was for tree removal at 81 Kellogg. We actually had to remove that tree earlier than anticipated, so it's already been removed. It was in bad condition even before the letter was submitted to us, and it is no longer there.
For that item O, I'll make a motion to the proposal that's in our packet that we place on file.
Second that motion.
Second. Okay. Roll call of commissioners. Commissioner Sylvia.
Yes.
Commissioner Farias.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Rigo.
Yes.
Commissioner De Silva, yes. Item P.
So the Street Tree Planting Committee, a group of volunteers here in Fall River, would like to utilize Oak Grove Cemetery and potentially, depending on the number of participants, Maplewood Park to conduct a tree pruning training to their group. So they'll be working on smaller, more recently planted trees to do pruning of dead wood and make sure that the tree health is in good condition as it moves forwards and grows. The training will be led by our arborist. There'll be, I believe they're capping it at 8 people. We'll be practicing social distancing, wearing face masks, and all of those appropriate measures. So that is their request for April 17th.
Motion to grant permission.
Second.
Roll call of commissioners. Commissioner Sylvia.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Farias.
Yes.
Commissioner Rigo.
Yes.
Commissioner De Silva, yes. Item Q, Eagle Scout Project, previously approved, will take place April 17th, tree planting at Oak Grove Cemetery.
That's pretty much the whole thing. It was previously approved. They're scheduled for April 17th at 9 a.m. To do the planting at Oak Grove in front of the offices, the 2 strips of grass on Prospect Street to beautify that with some plantings.
Okay.
Motion to accept.
Second that.
Okay. Roll call of commissioners. Commissioner Rigo.
Yes.
Commissioner Farias.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia.
Yes.
Commissioner De Silva, yes. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay. Item A, request to install park bench at a fallen soldier monument, Snake Hill, North Park. Everybody here for that?
Can I say a few words on that?
Absolutely, go ahead, Commissioner.
This is it's a dedicated veteran who was the chaplain of the War Council, and he served the city of Fall River very well. He also has, he did over 100 funerals, veteran funerals, so we would like to see if we can at least put a bench up at Snake Hill on behalf of Chaplain Boyer.
Motion to accept, do I have a second?
Question?
Well,
Motion to approve.
hold on 1 second.
The person requesting this is aware that we have a particular bench that goes in all the parks, correct?
Yes, they do. It's going to be the same benches that we have up there at Kennedy Park and all the
All right,
others.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Rigo.
Motion to grant permission.
Commissioner,
Second.
second. Commissioner Rigo, roll call
Yes.
vote.
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia,
Yes.
Commissioner Burns,
Yes.
Commissioner Farias,
Yes.
Commissioner DeSilva, yes. Item B, request for a memorial bench at Kennedy Park Playground. Do we have anybody here for that?
No, that's the Fallen Heroes.
The young boy. I believe the letter is.
These are just, yeah, these are just letters.
And to make note, in this letter, this request, it does state that they're aware that we have a standard bench. Motion to grant permission.
I see it now. Amanda Rigo.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to accept. this
Motion to
list.
accept,
Yes, but it's the same bench that's in all
same,
the parks.
same bench.
Yes.
Okay, who made the motion? Commissioner
Jeff.
Sylvia,
I did.
a
Second.
second? Commissioner
Second.
Burns. Roll call vote, Commissioner Sylvia,
Yes.
Commissioner Burns,
Yes.
Commissioner Farias,
Yes.
Commissioner Rigo,
Yes.
Commissioner DeSilva, yes. Request from Mark Conrad to do an event at Griffin Park, Fort Street. Is anybody here for that?
Want to table it? I make a motion, that we table this?
Second.
Any motion to table, Commissioner Farias,
Yes.
Commissioner Rigo,
Yes.
Commissioner Burns,
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia,
Yes.
Commissioner DeSilva, yes. Item D, request from the Brazilian Assembly of God using a park for a free food box distribution. Is anybody here? You want to come down? You say your name, your address?
Yeah, we like to introduce ourselves. My name is David Sylvia. This is Pastor Isaac Sylvia. We from the Assembly of God Calvary, and we've been doing work of social community service. We actually been helping people with distribution food every 15 days. We actually delivering to, and we had some of persons that can testify to us that have been very helpful. They've been pretty much abandoned by the family, and we helping up them that on this service. And in order to reach out a bigger group, we've been using the Durfee High School, but we're using the, I think it's the Elm Street parking lot. It's kind of complicated because most of the people know just the front is. We've been like chasing people, giving directions, giving the location. So we assuming it would be easier if the border help us. providing very common area like one of the parks, because everybody in town know parks will be something more easy to reach out in order to continue doing this type of service. Not only distributing the food, but any other assistance that my God can help us, helping out.
Now, I did talk to, when I called
Pastor Isaac,
Isaac.
Chaplain
He,
Isaac.
Chaplain Isaac, I talked to, I think it was a deacon woman.
Yes.
The other day. She had said that what
on
their
that
plan was.
Da japonesa, mas diário.
Juliana.
Juliana.
The
Juliana.
What she explained to me was, because I said, I guess you guys wanted to pick Kennedy Park on Saturdays, and like I was explaining to her, if it was the top of Kennedy, you already have St. Anne's Church that do their food pantry there every Saturday. It's gonna be tied up a lot of traffic.
Oh,
there.
okay.
So she had said that you guys wanted to probably go down more near the playground area.
Is
at
that
the
okay
lower
with,
part of
that
Kennedy.
okay with us?
Okay, we just wanted to make sure that we understood that.
So you do know that these boxes of food are being passed out on every food pantry in the city and at Jiffy High School.
That was us.
Now,
Yeah.
say you went the same day as St. Anne's Church.
Mhm.
So that means they're gonna go to St. Anne's Church and get a box, and they're gonna go down to your spot and get another box.
We're trying to do every 15 days.
I
and-
know. I work in a food pantry, so I know what
Okay.
it is.
Mhm.
We do ours tomorrow. We're gonna pass them out tomorrow.
Okay.
So, but everybody in the city, nobody in the city is going hungry. Nobody. I mean, I can see everybody getting help. Everybody needs help, but there's nobody hungry because all this food is being passed out. It's to the government. I know it's to the government.
Yep.
But it's a good box. You know, good
Very
stuff
good.
in it. Very
Very
good
good.
stuff in it. But it's being passed over, all over. I personally think it's too much, but.
But,
I'm only one
and just to
person.
confirm, you are saying you would just be changing locations from Durfee to Kennedy Park? It would just.
We're just trying to reach, because a lot of people getting lost through,
Yep.
because
Yep. Oh,
instead
yeah,
of be the
yep.
front, it was
Mhm.
the Elm Street, and has been a lot of confusion. And we try to help as much as we can. Sometimes we go actually picking up the person, bring it to the location, and we're just trying to actually make more convenient to
Absolutely.
anyone who want, I mean, we do a lot of deliveries, don't get us wrong, but anyone who has the capability to do it, and sometimes they get lost, if we have better accessibility through the parks, we'll be reaching
Totally,
out
yeah.
way easier.
Absolutely. I just wanted to make sure she didn't think that we were
Oh,
adding an
delivery.
additional day versus just
Yeah.
changing of a location.
Well, what we do is we have those medias through Instagram. They have like a WhatsApp group we have the Fall River WhatsApp group for which like
Yep.
I have thousands of people, and Instagram and Facebook, and every event we designated the time we started and the location. And so pretty much everybody, they keep following us and asking what's going to be the next event. But the reason why we're trying to get something easier is just to prevent the people getting lost and people getting to mislocated.
Okay.
Eu queria falar algo. Tem muitas pessoas que são imigrantes que só têm trabalho em questão de cozinha, e onde está fechado cozinha, restaurantes. Muitos hispanos, muita gente passando necessidade. Yeah,
What Pastor Alex is saying is not only a bunch of immigrants like Brazilians or Spanish group, they work in some because of the COVID thing, they've been shutting down a couple of the workers that they supposed to be provide. And this is why the most of the people that we're trying to reach out, like I'm sorry, I forget.
Ms. Rigo.
Mr. Regal saying. So we're just trying to join be one or more the pantry service to try reach out, because I think the better, the more, the better. I believe most of the people not getting hungry, but we've been reaching out for people. Actually, we have an event last Saturday. I was in Durfee High School, and we got a bunch of emails, people being delivery. And one of the buildings that we went there in Main Street, we had like a full floor, and people actually started crying because they said, first of all, we can't get to the place to get the pantry.
Yes.
Second of it, we don't have, we've been forgotten by the families. This is like more like a social problem, And that's why we're trying to help, not only feed for the hungry, but also bring the word of God. And if it needs something, need a ride or need a transportation, it needs something that our capability, that's what we're trying to do. Not only deliver the food, but we want to incorporate the church outside of the walls. We want to have the people to understand that if we need the help in our hands without crossing any other authorities, because I know everything needs to be permits, there to be former been asked. So we're here for. We're trying just to be doing our community service as church.
I don't have a problem with this. I think it's a good idea.
How many days are you looking for? You said a Saturday. You have a date?
We right now we're trying to do every 15 days. So we did last Saturday. So that means
So you're talking
this
two-
Saturday
by-
now will
by-
be a special event.
Seria esse sábado.
This Saturday will be a special event because the pantry that distribute the food of us, they said they overwhelmed, and because every time we do an event, it distributes so fast and so quick. They said we can help them out. So we have an event this Saturday. If this Saturday is kind of too busy or maybe on the last minute call, we can take the next Saturday and do in our church, which is very, our church is not small, but because of the traffic and to get like a easy access in and out, our church is not the very recommended. That's why we're trying to get something else more public. So if the board agree to have this weekend, we can take this weekend, or not, we can just give a calendar and we start doing the days that we don't bump each other with the pantry from the St. Anne's or any other.
So
I mean, we
they're
use it
gonna have
downstairs
the
anyways.
Same date every month, don't they?
Well, they would have every other Saturday.
Mhm.
It's bi-monthly. There was 2 Saturdays a month.
We're doing like pretty much 2 Saturdays, yes.
Yeah.
Because we
So-
have volunteers, so we need to actually regroup everybody.
I just have a question. Ms. Smith,
Yeah.
do you think this might be better because of rain and everything? Maybe like under the overlook?
I think the in and out traffic might be a concern if it's nice weather and there's a lot of people in the playground, because that parking lot is very, very
Yeah.
full. So to go in and out, we had a situation there before with buses going in and out.
Should we do
and
like down low and there at a time?
I know, but they won't be as visible. We
Okay.
created a bus stop down the bottom near where the pool was, but they won't be as visible there. But I think that going in from Bradford Avenue, having to do a circle in that parking lot to come out onto Bradford Avenue again is gonna pose a traffic issue or a safety issue if it's a nice day, because that parking lot will be full. So I mean, it's
So you're
entirely up to
thinking
the
maybe
board,
Middle Street side?
but it'll be very close to St. Anne's. The
No,
only thing I
I'm
can
talking
suggest
about-
is Bradford Avenue, because you go in by Broadway and out by South Main. It's almost like a drive-through.
Oh, you're talking
Pickup.
about the lower part.
That
I
would be
thought-
my
I thought we were
suggestion,
talking about,
but I don't know,
down
they
the
would have to
part.
really
What's your
time that
hours?
without St.
I'm
Anne's.
sorry?
What time of the day are you doing this?
The food pantry sometimes dropped off on the time between the 9 and 10:30. Like last Saturday, they get a little late, they delivered at 11, but it was like maybe around 2 o'clock, 2:30 was all gone. And the traffic department have been helping us every event. So if the traffic control be made an issue, so we can coordinate with them how it will be the better way to in and out safely and actually start doing the work.
It's up to the board. My suggestion is in by,
Bradford Ave.
if they go like where the farmer's market normally is, they haven't started yet. But if they go there, whoever it is gonna turn off Broadway and they can exit South Main. They don't have to turn around and come back out the same way they came. But it's
My
entirely up to the board if they have the
My
traffic
only
commission
concern,
and they
though, is
wanna go
when
that way.
When farmer's market does start and they're still doing this, then it's gonna be too.
Farmer's market is in this request. They don't wanna start until July.
Right.
So, I mean, then maybe we find an alternative location for them then, but to send them to you know,
Yeah.
we
That's
could
fine.
say it's a temporary location, and if, once the farmer's market starts, then the board will have to find them an alternative location.
That's correct.
That's fine.
Okay.
Do I have a motion to accept this?
Motion to accept.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So do I have the dates?
It's
And
gonna
you do
be-
this weekend?
You can start this weekend or next
If,
weekend?
if it's possible, we appreciate this weekend, because we already have one. Is not in our calendar, it's just because the pantry requests us to do this out of our schedule, and we're taking it, but we usually do every other Saturday. It's supposed to be on the next, not this Saturday, but the next one. Just this one will be like something that is possible,
So
we
you're
take
gonna
that
do it
Saturday.
this week and next week?
Nós vamos fazer nessa semana próxima que vem? Qual
Não,
não,
seria
pastor?
esse sábado agora.
Yeah, will be just this weekend, and then we're gonna skip next week, and then we start doing it again.
Every other Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay.
My only recommendation is, since like we're putting you temporarily for in that stuff,
Mhm.
is when you go Kennedy Park, Bradford Avenue, and that, there's like an old comfort station there.
Okay.
You wanna be like halfway down. You don't wanna go way up the top because you're gonna get up near South Main, you're gonna be interfering with them.
Okay, so
So I would come down
Baseball
more
field.
towards like more like the baseball field area.
close to the baseball field.
Yeah, there's
Yes.
like a field
Yeah.
that's right at the corner there.
Yeah.
I would come down that way more.
And again, we're gonna have the help of the traffic department, so we're gonna actually follow their suggestion as well, because they know more how the traffic is
Are
going to
you
be.
available,
more-
are you available either tomorrow or the next day?
Yes, I am.
Friday? If you want, reach out to Ms. Smith, she's our park director.
Okay.
She can, her office is right there, she can meet across the street with you and just show you like where we're talking.
Perfect, I mean,
Okay.
anytime that she's available, I can make it happen.
Great, so, who made the motion?
I did.
Motion to accept was Commissioner Burns,
Second.
second Commissioner Farias. Roll call vote, Commissioner Burns,
Yes.
Commissioner Farias?
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia?
Yes.
Commissioner Rigo?
Yes.
Commissioner Silva, yes. Request, item
Sir.
E.
Obrigado.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you're
Have a good
doing.
day.
God bless you both, thank you.
You're welcome. Item E, request to use the site, park sites for vaccine distribution.
Good evening, Board. I'm here to speak on behalf of Tess Curran from the Health Department. So some things have changed since we put in this submission and this request. We originally had, well, first and foremost, we have the opportunity to gain 3,500 doses of vaccines from FEMA. And the intent is to put these out in the lower income, less advantaged neighborhoods for people who may not have had access to the vaccine or couldn't travel to get them. So they'd basically be walk-up sites. So the intent was to think of doing it in the park. When we followed up with the organization that put this together, they're working through FEMA, but when we met with them through Zoom, it came very quickly that they need certain things that may not be available in the park, Wi-Fi, power, things of that nature. So we've shifted gears and we're looking at possibly either a couple of schools or maybe a couple of churches. But I would still request respectfully that, you know, if the board is gracious enough to pass this, that we leave this here. So if we do need the parks for some reason, whether it need to be set up a tent to keep people out of the weather, or we do shift gears back to the park, that we'd have the availability, because we're still trying to figure out the logistics behind getting 3,500 vaccines to individuals. So if this is an option for us, then it gives us one more box to check that if we needed it, it's there. Yes, Commissioner.
So which park would you be?
So we're looking for Kennedy Park and Lafayette Park. So and to the same vein of what you were just discussing, locations in those parks. Lafayette Park would be up near the pool, okay, up along Eastern Avenue for parking reasons, obviously. Mason Street side is tough, so is County. So along Eastern Avenue, along the length of the pool, people would be able to park. So we'd set up right there toward the Eastern Avenue. People could walk up, get their vaccine. Kennedy Park, we were looking at setting up on the access road. So as you come in and you come by Mrs. Smith's park garage, not the office, but the garage on the right where it splits, set up on the right where the road goes down so individuals could park in the main parking lot near the pavilion and walk over and get their vaccine. And those would be the location.
Is this gonna be by appointment?
You know what, I think we still have some available at BCC, and on a daily basis, surprisingly or not, this is a little off that subject, but surprisingly or not, there are doses left over quite often, so.
I know there is.
So if you want,
No, I got mine.
You got yours? Okay, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So the events would take place 3 times a week. It'd be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday during the day. And then we'd have to, and that would be for 8 weeks. So people would be able to go get their vaccine, come back for their second round, and throughout the 8 weeks, we try to distribute all 3,500 vaccines. And that's the intent.
Does anyone else have?
Have a motion to accept.
And the dates on the,
Yes, so the
Your
dates haven't been
diagram.
ironed out yet either, Commissioner, only for the simple reason that, you know, we can accept the vaccines when we're ready and we have the logistics worked out. Right now, we don't. So we wouldn't want to take those vaccines and have them go to waste. So until we know whether we're going to go to the schools or churches or to the parks, we didn't put a date on it. So this is
the
sooner
only
rather
reason
than.
why I ask about dates is because on your diagrams where the location is.
Yep.
At each park, there are dates there, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, because we tried to throw this together as quickly as possible, because we knew that the board was meeting now, and rather than wait another month to try to get approval, we wanted to get it in. This was put together before we met with the group and figured out that the logistics in the parks wouldn't work. So that, if you can disregard those dates. We are gonna try to do it as quickly as possible, but my honest belief and feeling is we are not going to end up doing this in the park. But again, I wouldn't wanna shut that door just in case it's our last case resort.
I have no issue with it.
Thank you,
I
Commissioner.
make a motion to accept.
Second.
Motion to accept was Commissioner Burns, Commissioner Rego seconded. Roll call vote. Commissioner Burns,
Yes.
Commissioner Rego,
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia,
Yes.
Commissioner Farias.
Yes.
Commissioner De Silva, yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Much appreciated.
All right. Item F, request from the Kukuskis, sorry if I badgered that, club for annual ceremony on May 2nd at 1 PM at the Kukuskis Square on South Main and Hamlet Street.
This is a yearly event, motion to grant permission.
Second that.
Roll call vote of commissioners. Commissioner Sylvia made the motion. Commissioner Farias made the second it. Roll call vote. Commissioner Sylvia.
Yes.
Commissioner Farias.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Rego.
Yes.
Commissioner De Silva, yes. Item G, project plan bench replacement at Columbus Park on Bedford Street.
Motion to accept.
Do any of the commissioners have any
No.
questions on this one? Okay.
The only statement I'll make is, obviously, it's gonna be the same benches that we have throughout the city.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Motion to accept.
Okay, motion to accept by
Second.
Commissioner Rego, seconded by Commissioner Sylvia. Roll call vote. Commissioners, Commissioner Rego,
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia,
Yes.
Commissioner Burns,
Yes.
Commissioner Farias,
Yes.
Commissioner De Silva, yes. Item H, St. Anne's Hospital, Kennedy Park, Middle Street, med flight use. We need to untable this matter. I have a motion to untable.
Make a motion to untable this.
Second.
Roll call, Commissioner Farias made the motion, Commissioner Burns seconded. Roll call vote of commissioners to untable this matter. Roll call, Commissioner Farias?
Yes.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia?
Yes.
Commissioner Rego?
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia, yes.
Yep.
I know this was tabled before. It was about me, changing the lock on the door. This is gonna be lifted. Will I get permission to put a new lock on the door? If Mrs. Smith needs the key to the, I will provide a key to the park department.
So, as you guys all got the letter from St. Anne's Hospital saying that they no longer need the lights for the med flights. So this is in writing. I know last month we wanted more information from either the EMS or the police department, fire department, or whatever. to say if Medflight and Boston Medflight would need the lights, because Mr. Patello was getting a bill that St. Anne's didn't want to help contribute to pay, so we got the letter from St. Anne's saying they don't need the lights anymore, so do I have a motion to him to change the, Commissioner Sylvia?
I just want to make a couple comments on this. I did some research with the fire department and the police department. Both departments having their SOPs, procedures for med flights to come in. And from the research I did, unfortunately I forgot to bring that folder with me. Those lights need to be turned on for med flights, according to police and fire. We have this letter from them saying they don't need it. I'm a little concerned about liability if they're saying they don't need it and the police and fire show up and there's nobody there to turn lights on and something terrible happens. So I'm not against this, and I will vote to accept this letter, but I want this to be presented to Corporation Counsel, have him take a look at it to make sure the city is not going to be liable in any way, or the baseball league, or this board. Hopefully when something bad happens, if it happens, God forbid it does happen, but because I don't see at night how they can say they don't need those lights at 12 o'clock at night when it's pitch black. They have one.
What I was told, just to, not to interrupt you, Counsel, was that there is new technology that they have in these med-flight helicopters that don't require that type of landing anymore. So, I mean, we can't do anything more but reach out to the facility that is accepting this and uses this as their med-flight. I don't know, unless those organizations that you're reaching out to want to provide this board with a letter as well, because this is the only thing that we have in writing right now.
Well,
They need to provide it in writing as well, that I would think for this board to be covered.
I will reach out to both chiefs and ask them if we can.
I thought that's what we had.
Well, I checked it and I made copies, because obviously it's part of our training as dispatchers, that we have these SOPs available to us. I don't think they've changed, and if their MedFlight is saying they don't need it, then I think MedFlight needs to, provide some kind of documentation to that effect. But I have no problem with accepting this letter. But again, I want to make sure that we're dotting our i's and crossing our t's.
It's entirely up to the board.
Well, I agree with Nancy.
Yep.
We need if other people are using it, we need letters from them.
Yeah. I would make it a suggestion is have Mr. Patel change the locks, but St. Anne's doesn't have the key. The police department and fire department have a key. If they're the ones that are gonna turn it on, they know.
That's not a decision that I looked into. That would have to come from the chiefs, obviously. But again, I'm not saying this is not correct. I'm voicing my concerns. If this board is willing to accept this, fine. I just think the Corporation Counsel should take a look at this, and maybe he should do a little investigating.
I would think the Corporation Counsel is gonna want the letters from the other people as well before they make some type of a decision on this, because these people who utilize this are saying they don't need it. If someone else is saying they do need it, I think the Corporation Counsel needs all of the information at his disposal before he can render an opinion. So if possible, I would say if you can obtain that information and bring it back to the board, then the board can refer all of the information to the Corporation Counsel for his review. But I don't know what else to recommend. I was asked to look into St. Anne's. I did. I mean, I don't know. I think written documentation from the people that you're referring to is something that the board, as Helen said, is going to feel more comfortable with.
I can work on that and get past the chiefs for letters.
I
Because,
want it to come
again,
back and
to the
fail,
best
say
of my
that
knowledge,
Nancy changed the lock and did it, and then she's, no. I think we
have,
need more letters.
I have no
more
problem with
information.
changing locks. But
But we
again,
can't change a
I
lock
was gonna say,
before
yeah,
we
no.
make
No.
this
Based off
decision.
of that information
The
you
lock
just
has
said,
to come
no.
after the decision is made, Commissioner, in all due respect. I mean, I think what Commissioner De Silva said is, if we want to issue keys to city employees, then that's another story, because they are police and fire. But I don't know if the same cruiser responds every time, so that in turn
Usually.
creates a problem. If one cruiser's tied up, then another cruiser goes, and if the key is in cruiser Sector 9 and Sector 10's gotta come, then
It's
they
not
don't
like-
have a key.
It's not like that, like, when, we all have, elderly high rises, there's knock boxes that have the key to the door outside.
The only thing with that is I think the box like that put in a pocket is
Yeah.
a little bit, I mean, I have yeah, it gets vandalized where that is, so.
And I just have one thing to add, just to like throw this out there. I wanna make sure that when we do get these letters, that it's more of a need and not a want. Like, we wanna make sure these people aren't saying, oh, we need that, because it's not something they're used to, and not necessarily something we actually need, and it's, you know what I mean, if that makes sense?
But
Absolutely.
it all comes down to, if they do, if the police, fire, and EMS and everything need them lights to be on for them in Boston Med Flight, it's not fair to the league that has to put that bill
oh,
on.
I agree, I'm in
No,
full
no, no.
support of the league.
And that's why, that's why this is where this
I'm in
came
full
from.
support of the league, I don't want that to be
Yep.
mistaken.
Now,
Um,
have they had that many Met flights gone to Kennedy Park lately, or?
It was tough to get a solid number, because it depends on who's working and how they code the call. There's no specific code for med flight, so it's either an ambulance call, and to get those numbers, you'd have to go through every single
Calls?
rescue call that went to St. Anne's and why they went there. It'd be a lengthy process to do that. I don't know, I'm a dispatcher, I don't keep records. So, I mean, I can ask them,
I can
somebody
reach-
higher up.
I can reach out to EMS, I deal with the lieutenant there, normally with all the vaccine clinics, I'll reach out to EMS
Yeah,
and check with, Director Oliver and everything. to see
Yeah,
what-
it's, from a dispatch standpoint, it's a lengthy process, because it depends on, we don't have a specific code for the computer for MedFlight. So we would have to, go through every single rescue call to see if it was a MedFlight or if it was just a routine where they went to somebody's house or whatever. But I can reach out again to the chiefs or the police chief and somebody higher up.
I think we should table this till we get more information.
Absolutely. And then is there a way that we can find out like the regulations for med flights? Like, do you have to have a certain amount of area lit up while they're landing?
It's posted on Boston MedFlight's website.
Okay. That is also something to take into consideration.
When Nancy was saying about, they have night goggle visions.
Yep.
Which they can actually land.
It's an
The
infrared.
helicopter, infrared light. They can land without the lights, because that's the way they used to do it.
Okay.
But
So I have a motion to table this matter until the next meeting, from Commissioner Rego. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Burns seconds. Roll call vote of commissioners. Commissioner Rego.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia.
Yes.
Commissioner Farias.
Yes.
Commissioner De Silva, yes. You're welcome. Okay. Actually, we switched it around. It was item I that we were
Yeah.
supposed to lift, but we already did, so. Item J, request from Farmers Market, Rachel Gosby, later start date for the Farmers Market Park location.
She's not requesting any location change, it's the same person. In the past, it's requested this, just starting later because of the
COVID.
situation.
So I'll
You're
make a
gonna start
motion.
in July instead of May.
I'll make a motion to go
Second.
move the dates.
Okay, motion to move the dates and accept this, place on file. Commissioner Farias made the motion, Commissioner Rego made this, seconded. Roll call vote of commissioners, Commissioner Farias.
Yes.
Commissioner Rego.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia.
Yes,
Commissioner De Silva, yes. Item K, letter from John Coutinho concerns
Coutinho.
with President Farmers Market. I know I read this letter, it's my opinion. I don't think it's our place to decide on who runs the farmers markets. That's up to the farmers.
I agree.
So do I have a motion to,
Is anyone here for this, or no?
No.
No. Anyone else have any
any other
thoughts?
questions?
Nope.
I feel bad, but I agree.
Commissioner Sylvia's still reading.
No, he's all set.
You all set?
I mean, we've, to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Smith, we've never had really any big issues with the farmer's market. It's been the same person running it. And I agree with Commissioner Burns, it's not our place to decide who runs it. So,
Well, if there's a problem, you do have to address it if there's a problem with the market master, but I have not heard a problem with the market master. This letter seems to be internal issues amongst the farmers but not per se with the market as a whole, with its distribution of vegetables or plants. So I think the board just has to probably accept it, place on file, and if the gentleman wants to address the board at a future meeting, then I would assume he could come forward. But the people that he's referring to, there were issues back then, that when he said previous market masters have run it, there were some issues then, not with this particular group that we have now. So I think it's just an internal thing.
You wanna make a
Do I have a motion to place this on file?
I'll make a motion to place this
Second.
on file.
Okay, Commissioner Farris made the motion, Commissioner Rio made second. Commissioner, roll call vote of commissioners, Commissioner Farris.
Yes.
Commissioner Rego.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia.
yes,
Commissioner De Silva, yes. Item L, Jack Hackett requests to appear for CPA ball field lighting application. Come on down.
Thank you for putting me on the agenda. I have my wife with me because I have a hearing problem. Okay. First of all, I'm very happy tonight that I ran into Mr. John Perry. Had a meeting with Nancy and John in, I believe, the end of November last year to express our problems at Father Kelly softball field, the Jack Hackett softball field. And John and Nancy have been behind the league 100%. Whatever they can do for us, they do. About a year ago, I approached the chairperson of the community development, Sandy Dennis, about submitting a CPA application. And I had a mini stroke. So I had to hold off and wait until I got my health back. And then my wife and I met with Sandy at her place last summer. And she gave me all the information of what I have to go about on the application. The only thing is, you had to get the permission of the park board members to go ahead with it. And then you had to get it in by the date of September the 1st. And then the funding had to be in by January the 15th. So at that time with the Corvette, and I did get a hold of Nancy, and everything was up in the air with the park board members meeting, so we put it off. In the meantime, in April of 2019, one of our poles fell down with the windstorm, which was unbelievable. To this date, it has not been replaced. Mr. Perry had Brian come down and we moved a couple lights to cover the dock area. So the field, and Nancy checked with me and John checked with me, would it be playable? And in my opinion, and the other officers, it was playable, that it would not bring about injuries. So then I decided to put a committee together of 7 people, and we are going to go ahead and, with your permission, I will submit a CPA application. And I know I have to get back to you for your clearance again, and I would have all the information for you. And then if you give me the okay, I would appear in front of the 10-person committee of the CPA. Concerning the poles at Father Kelly Park, we now have 7 left, and I believe 4 of them are in tough shape. So I believe those poles have been there for about 54 years. I have been involved with the league since 1963. I have been the director for 52 years. The league is the most organized league, softball league in this area. About 1,000 ball players will step on that field this year, and that is unbelievable. And what is the advantage for the city? They come, they buy gas. While they're playing ball, the women are shopping. Then they hit the restaurants, and of course some of the guys will hit the bars if everything opens with this COVID-19. So a lot of business is brought into the city, and of course it's great for our league. With the situation of the poles, I believe it is time to upgrade and to go for the metal lighting poles. Now what we'd have to do here, as I told you, there are 8 poles altogether, 1 fell. 4 in the outfield and 2 on the sidelines. If we get the new metal pole lighting, we will only need 4. 2 in the outfield and 1 each on the sidelines. The maintenance would be outstanding. I met with the Barry Fontaine, who is the Director of Recreation in Somerset, to get quite a bit of information out of him. And he said the electricity bill would be maybe $200 to $300 a month. Right now, I am paying close to $3,000. Now, our electrician who helps us out is Brian Bishop. He played in the league, and he does a lot of work for the city. The trouble is that his truck, he doesn't have the tall truck to go up on the outfield lights. So this is where John's going to come in and Nancy get the National Grid to go in. And we must have 8 or 9 lights pointing out to Grove Street and South Main Street because of the winter winds. So let's push them in, lights up the field. I formed, as I said, a committee of 7. I did get back touched with Sandy, so I can make sure that I have an upgraded application. I have already put things together, why it is beneficial that we go to the future technology, which is the metal lighting poles. Wooden poles are terrible. And if you go to New York, Connecticut, a lot of their fields, they are into the metal poles. So why not Fall River? Get it started. Eventually, all these other leagues are going to need it. I'm looking at probably $70,000 to $100,000 I would have to go to the CPA. Understanding from Sandy, the CPA has done nothing for any outdoor recreation. Well, this is the first time for them to do something. And believe me, I will be well prepared, if given your permission, to meet with them. And I feel we have a very good shot. The maintenance, like I said, the light bulb on a metal pole will last for 25 years. A light bulb here, when it goes down, it costs me $90 for one bulb. So I am here. I know the last minute I went on to Nancy to ask you to put me on the agenda because you know this is going to be a lot of work that we have to handle. And my wife and I are in the 80s, and it's a lot of work and a burden for me. But I think it has to be done, and someone has to step forward. I put a committee together of a fellow who was a manager of Home Depot, a fellow who builds houses, another fellow who's in construction, a manager of Raytheon's, and a couple of people, managers who are involved with softball and have played for over 35 years, Peter Zadie and Eric Thompson. So I think I have a very strong committee, and I think we would have a very good shot. But we cannot do anything unless you give us the permission. And if you do, when everything is prepared, I will come back to you and have a folder for each one of you that you can look at and see what I am going to present to this committee. We need it. The field needs it. This is the most organized and active field in the city. No other baseball field or Little League field can touch the activity that goes on at Father Kelly Park. I've also had ladies teams there. I've also had co-ed teams there. And right now I'm trying to get a wooden bat. Bats of the Passer League going. So I am out there. I am a hustler. And I want to do good. It will be a big plus for the city, a big plus for softball, for the teams and the players, and a big plus to bring more business into the city of Fall River. So I hope, as park board members, you'll at least give me a shot to go ahead and present it to the CPA board. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions, Commissioners?
I don't. I'd like to make a recommendation.
Wait, Commissioner Sylvia has a question.
Just a quick statement. I don't know if you've been following along the last couple of meetings here and the last few city council meetings. Obviously, there is a need. The polls are old. The number last night given to the city council was 66 poles, light poles on baseball fields, soccer fields, basketball courts, tennis, whatever, every sport that has fields. 66 poles at a cost to replace, the number last night that was mentioned was about $5,000. So when you times that by 66, you're talking over $300,000. Is there a need? Absolutely. And it was mentioned last night. We have a habit of putting things out there, new projects, and the lack of maintenance that goes with those projects and fields. And it's no fault of anybody in particular. It's just the nature of the beast when your manpower is cut, when you're working with antiquated equipment and things of that nature. It's very tough for the park workers to maintain those poles, those fields everywhere. So I do understand your issue, and I agree with it, being involved in baseball myself, that there is an issue in this city, and it's time that it gets addressed. And hopefully the city council is going to increase this department's budget so we can stop picking up some maintenance, maybe put some more bodies on, but this board has no control over that. But I agree with you wholeheartedly that this is an issue. When 66 poles are in need of attention, it is an issue. And for you to take the reins and try and get CPA money or some other way, it's commendable. And I personally don't have a problem with it. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
I would like to just state that I do know the park board budget is minimal, but I know Nancy and whatever John can do for all the leagues, they do it. Once in a while, Nancy and I might go back and forth, but I appreciate everything she did. When I ran into this guy today, it was heaven, that's all I can say. Because John's gonna take care of me on the polls. And I'd just like to mention, you won't believe that I had Jeff in the 4th grade.
5th grade.
Many, many years ago. I was a 4th grade school
Now you're making me
teacher for
sound old.
43 years. And the brother, I had him and his
You're
brother.
making me sound old. Now I'm gonna
How
have to
about this?
reconsider
When
what I
one guy had to go to the bathroom, the other guy had to go.
I'm
Because they
gonna have-
wanted to get out there and fool around.
You make me sound old. I'm gonna have to reconsider what I just said.
The things that we learned during park board
But
meetings.
once again, thank you for putting me on the agenda.
You're welcome.
The last minute. Greatly appreciated. If you do give me the permission to go ahead with this, I'd appreciate it if I get it in writing. And if I do, I'll get my committee, I gave my committee a folder on everything I had built up for them to look over. I was gonna give them a week or so before we meet so that they all can get involved, because I need help. My wife and I can't do it ourselves.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much. And
Mr. Smith or Mr. Perry, I get confused sometimes the process with CPA. Do we need a letter to give the
Yes.
CPA
Yes.
before the application?
Yes.
See, you
Yes.
need to give him permission,
That's
but
what
when
I'm
he
just
submits
about
his
to do.
September application, it needs to have he needs to have that letter. The
For
board can give
September.
him preliminary permission to move forward with the application, but when he submits, when he puts together his application to be submitted to the CPA, they ask that an official vote of the board, which right now you can give
Right.
him preliminary permission to move forward, gather the information, but he will have to come back to the board prior to September, because I think that's, they have September 1st, they have to submit.
September
to
1st, I have to submit it.
CPA. So he will have to come back to a July or August meeting of the board, so he has the official vote of the board for, once you see his plan. Right now, you're saying, go gather the information, we're gonna, you know,
The funding has to be in by January 15th. So we have to get a hold of 3 lighting companies to give us a bid. I already been in touch with one. And then I understand, once it goes in front of them, if they okay it, then it has to go in front of the Fall River City Councilors. And then if it's okay, it goes to the Registry of Deeds and so forth. So,
I'll make a motion that we grant preliminary,
Permission.
letter,
And I'll
grant
second it.
permission.
and once I have the
For the
ma-
application.
material set, I will get a hold of Nancy and John and get permission from you to be on the agenda, and I will bring in a folder for each one of you to see what I am going to present to them.
Right, so
That's it.
made a motion to give preliminary permission to go forward.
For the application.
The application, Commissioner Sylvia made the motion, Commissioner Rigo seconded. All in favor, Commissioners, Commissioner Sylvia,
Yes.
Commissioner Rigo,
Yes.
Commissioner Burns,
Yes.
Commissioner Farias.
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia, yes. Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening now.
Item M, National Baseball Proposed Field Improvement Update, Dumont Field. Anybody here for that?
Is that what I think it is?
Motion table?
Is that what that
do we have an update? I mean, I've had forwarded the,
Yeah, we've had updates and that, so, I know we were at the council meeting yesterday, myself and Nancy and Mr. Perry, and they wanted to see improvements and everything, but, be honest with you, I'm not too happy, because I think we keep getting circumvented. We're being kept out of emails. Only certain people get emails. The park board doesn't get the emails. I have to get it forwarded from Mrs. Smith to me. So that right there, I'm not happy with that.
my concern is just the application, the contract that they sent back. There were 2 items that were supposed to be put in that contract. I know that one was. I don't know if anyone reviewed the application that I forwarded to Mr.
Corporation Council has that, so it's
just waiting on an answer if he was okay with the adjustment in the contract. So we're just waiting on an answer for that.
There was one item that was in question still, so, but you can continue. My main focus was that contract, but you can continue.
So I'd say that we still keep this tabled until we hear back from Corporation Counsel if he's comfortable with Commissioner Sylvia.
I have one question. Has any work began over there? Because if I recall the last meeting, and I read it in the minutes today, no work is supposed to begin until Corporation Counsel reviews it and gives us his opinion.
So
So my question is, has any work begun over there?
So there was work done this past weekend on Field 3, the newer field. They went with a, what was that, a sod cutter? Did they explain it in the email? And took out all the dirt and everything, and it's a pile of dirt. When Ms. Smith asked if she needed to send her manpower there to do what they need, all you need to do is cut the grass and dump dirt. We'll handle everything else. I guess they said that's routine maintenance that they do there yearly. So the permission was to do the permission was for Field 2, not Field 3.
That is correct. And along the lines of what we just talked about, so the contractor is not doing that work. The league is doing it. To what you explained, it's cutting of the sod.
Supposedly they had volunteers come,
dirt.
they had a bunch of volunteers supposedly in the email to come in, and they got a sod cutter to
And not
do
the
that.
contractor.
I don't know that if it is the contract, it's not, I would think he's not being paid as part of that middle fields.
Well, I
Whether
agree
the
with-
contractor is volunteering, I don't know, but it's part of the contractor's project that was presented here was for the middle field. So if they have a contractor volunteering, I don't know.
Another thing too is after the last council meeting 2 weeks ago, myself and Ms. Smith went down to look at Dumont Field to see all the concerns. I took a bunch of pictures, but I couldn't get them uploaded off my phone. But there were some concerns that I seen there that the Sousa Field, one of the neighbors showed me, I have a video of it, he shakes the whole backstop. The whole backstop is shaking from kids going there. This was never addressed to us. That's a concern.
That's a safety concern.
That's a safety
all.
concern. Nobody ever told us this of the league.
Well, again, you made a statement that we're being circumvented,
Yep.
and we're going backwards in this board.
Mhm.
This board used to be circumvented quite often in years past. And I don't want to go back there. You know, I think this board over the last few years has worked very hard to put rules in, and people are not going to follow rules. Well, if they're not going to follow rules, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, not an opinion of the board, if they're not going to follow rules, you don't get a permit. I will not vote for anybody who's not following the rules. Okay? We're going to talk about field permits. And for the last year or so, maybe longer, I'm the commissioner that keeps bringing up about getting the paperwork in from the state, from whoever, rosters, etc. Okay? I'm all for letting kids play baseball. But I'm not going to sit on this board and be kicked around anymore. Okay? And other board members have said that in the past. It's not going to happen. If you don't follow the rules, you don't turn in what you're supposed to, you will not have this commissioner's vote. I will not speak for my colleagues. You people vote the way you want. But it's got to come to an end. Maybe we'd have better fields and more control if people did what they were supposed to do and follow the rules that this board sets down. Okay? I understand, and I've been part of leagues that I've gone out and raised money and fixed fields. When I was the president of Little League Field, Kenny Park, we spent our own money and put sprinklers in and resodded the field and put new clay in. But we followed the rules of this board. We had to even go before the city council to get permission back in 1987. So I'm not going to sit here and take excuses anymore. Get your paperwork in, follow the rules, and I don't like that word, being circumvented. That's not what any of us volunteer and sign on for this. We don't get paid, we volunteer, and we try and run this board with the best interest of the taxpayers. That's what I heard last night at the city council meeting, from people's voices. You know, taxpayer, money, money, money. Well, guess what? The people who want to spend the money should be following the rules that the city lays down. And I know I'm not going to this is not going to be popular when it's on TV. Okay? And who knows? I may not be around much longer. I don't know. But I will get my point across. And again, I will not vote on anybody's permit without their paperwork and them following rules. Thank you for the time.
And just all the things that I wanted to point was the Sousa Field. I noticed that field is dedicated to the man, Mr. D'Souza. If you guys recall, a couple of meetings ago, I asked the treasurer of that league. There was a black top thing flying off the Sousa Field that the neighbors were complaining about that was flying in the wind. Told me they were going to address it. Then I asked the president the following meeting, did you address that? When we went there 2 weeks ago to take the pictures and that, the neighbor's the one that told me they addressed it because it was in a windstorm that it was flying. So right there, both the treasurer and the president lied to us in 2 meetings. The other thing is, we noticed there, they have a batting, is it pitching equipment or something, Nancy?
What, up on the fence?
On the fence. It's part of their equipment laying up against the fence. So now if that thing goes in the wind, blowing, and breaks the fence, who's responsible for that?
That's a protector, that's when they pitch, it's a
Okay,
protector.
it's a protected thing. I have a picture of it. The other thing too is coming with the Sousa Field back again. All the rest of them fields are dedicated, they have signs up on it. Now if that field is dedicated to that man, I think it's a sign of disrespect that his sign is behind the backstop in the building. It's on the ground. I have pictures of it. Why is that sign off that backstop? So, I don't know how the rest of you guys feel, but I'm not happy.
So are we just gonna table
Table
this?
it. I'll make a motion that we table this.
Second.
Second by Commissioner, made a motion to table is Commissioner Farias. Seconded by Commissioner Rigo. Roll call vote, Commissioner Farias.
Yes.
Commissioner Rigo.
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner De Silva, yes. Item N, 2021 field permits.
I almost hate to go there.
That's not.
I've prepared in front of you Britland Park, the schedule of what people have asked for. The baseball leagues are still putting together their schedules. I don't have the schedule of their games, but they utilize the fields singularly, so it's not a matter of having to sort through the information. Right now at Britland Park, I have requests from Fall River Youth Soccer, Fall River Men's Football, which is soccer, the Men's Club League, which is formerly the
Lazo.
Portuguese clubs, yes, the Laza League, Northeast Soccer League, and I have a practice request from someone named Alex Barros. So I have actually mapped out for you April, May, and June, and I've attached those schedules that I have received. As you can see, sometimes I have to decode them. For example, the one that says Game Spring, where I kind of arrowed down, I'm assuming those are the dates that are referring to what's underneath it, and I wrote that on the bottom myself to try to make it clearer to the board. Just like if you look at 5-9, there seems to be two games, and I put a question mark because I'm not sure if that's on 5-9, so I'm assuming they're 5-9. But for right now, I've also put the numbers of Fall River participants on the top of the front page, which is, for some leagues, you can see 145 of 161. If it's a 16 of 16, which is the one team that interleague plays, I would assume, with other men's Laza kind of clubs. And then the others have that ratio of Fall River participants as well. So at this point, we have schedules from Fall River Youth Soccer, the men's football, and Northeaster Soccer. The problem comes that with the pandemic last year and Fall River Youth Soccer not playing, Saturdays and Sundays kind of became open season. So everyone thinks that they can put in for those dates. But if we go back to 2019, those are what's listed on the top above the date. You can see Sunday says mixed games, Monday at night was Fall River Youth, Tuesday was Fall River Youth, Wednesday was the men's clubs, Thursday was Northeaster Soccer, Friday was Fall River Youth, and Saturday was mixed games, meaning it could be the youth soccer, it could be the men's league. The men's league's normal time is Saturdays from 6 to 8, as you can see that's in the block. Fall River Youth is 9 to 5. Fall River Men's was like 6 to 8 or 6 to 9. So those are what the normal playing times are. Now, I don't have the men's club schedule. What they gave me was a calendar with every single date, Saturday and Sunday date on it, but I do know that some of those days, dates are home, some of those dates are away. So I don't know how to handle that. I know they're going to have some games. My suggestion would be that there are a couple of games here. What I've highlighted in yellow are the issues that seem to overlap. So on Saturday the 10th, there doesn't seem to be an issue for Fall River Youth Soccer. They seem to have a game at 1:15 and 3. Is that correct, Eddie? I know you're here. And then on Sunday, they have a game at 4 and 6. But the other league is requesting 11, 1, 2:30, and 4:30. So you can see that 4 o'clock becomes a conflict. So the following week, there is no conflict. We get to almost the 24th. After the 11th, we can get to almost the 24th of April. Well, there is a conflict because I don't know when the men play. They usually play either Saturday night or Sunday morning. And we're having leagues request those times. So I know the chairman didn't have time to come by the office. I know that I have reached out to these leagues again, saying it's imperative that I get your schedules. I can't award these things without having everybody's information, because what I would like to do first is accommodate everybody's games, no matter what league they're from. I mean, and this other Mr. Barrows, I'm not familiar with him. He's never applied before. He's looking for practice on Mondays and Wednesdays. Well, on Wednesdays, the field is shared by 2 clubs, and on Mondays it belongs to Fall River Youth Soccer. Something like that, we may be able to shift over to Travassos Park. And if he's going to play 6 to 8, it may not even require lighting. So that's not an issue, but the staples that have been there before at Britland Park that are used to those playing times, we're going to have to work around that. And unfortunately, I can do this for a couple of weeks, but I need those schedules from the other organizations. And if not, I need the board to decide how we want to move forward. Fall River Youth Soccer does have the most Fall River participants of that, and I put that all on that paper for you. So what I'm asking is to possibly issue Fall River Youth Soccer a couple of weekend, or at least, you know, a temporary permit for a week or two with the dates that they normally have, and then maybe we can work out the rest and get back to them. But I think until we get all this information in, we can't make an educated decision from April to June. And I mean, Mr. Almeida is here, I have communication with him on a regular basis. I can try and work it out, but I am not the one that is supposed to award the permit for the season. I don't mind working a couple of weeks with the organizations to try to map everybody out, but like I said, with these things pending, and it seems that a lot of people are applying for games on Saturdays and Sundays that didn't have them before. So the question is, does the board want to go with past experience and not give them those games on Saturday and Sunday at that location? You know, right now Travassos doesn't have nets. I've called to see if nets can be installed there. I haven't received information back yet. That may be an alternative, but I don't think that they can play games. They can practice at Travassos, but they cannot play games at Travassos because the field is not marked, and I don't even, you're right, they'd have to line it because that was never done, and the nets are not there. So that's a little ways down the road. It may be able to happen in another month or so, but at this point right now, I don't know how the board wants to move forward. But they do have games scheduled that, you know, we postponed their games on Wednesday. I mean, on last week, we had called them and we postponed their first game because the board hadn't met yet.
Yeah, I reached out to you.
And we've done a couple of improvements there. We have reached out to a company about redoing the field as far as the pellets. I've gotten a price from them, but again, I don't know how that's going to disrupt the schedule as well once that comes into play. But I want the board to have this information, but you also need to know that I do need to accommodate these leagues that have scheduled games.
And just to go back to what Ms. Smith was just referring to, Ms. Almeida, right? Yes. Ms. Almeida sent the email, I believe it was on a Friday. Ms. Smith wasn't going to get that, so I responded as the park chairman. He wanted to know if they could have, it was last weekend, Saturday, I believe it was? Yes. They were going to have teams coming in from Martha's Vineyard, I believe it was, and Hyannis. Yeah, Hyannis. Yep. So I didn't think it would be fair to say, since we weren't meeting until the 7th, to give out permits and everything. So I told him you might want to probably reschedule that game because not to have people come all the way down from the Cape and everything down here, especially Easter weekend and everything. So he understood that and there was no problem there.
Yeah, and I could say this year, because of COVID, you know, kind of threw the league out quite a bit. So we lost quite a bit of teams. Mm-hmm. Normally we're hovering around 22 teams, which time slots are pretty tight. But this year, I believe we have 13 teams, if I'm not mistaken, and I believe we actually just lost a team yesterday, so we might free up some spots at Brooklyn as well.
Right, and just so that the board knows, the league does put in for more 8 till 5 on Saturday.
Right, and we're not using all of that time.
Right,
There's
so if
plenty of
there's
time
something
to
where
train.
we can fit in these games, but I'm gonna have to sit individually with people, and I know that they have practices scheduled some of those times, but again, I think it's important to accommodate games, especially at Brooklyn Park, since it is a premier facility.
Have we found out anything about that repairs yet?
So I was there yesterday.
The
Actually,
repairs were
practicing,
done.
They were done,
Okay.
and the nets are all done,
Okay.
and the field looked good.
So
Right.
that
The only thing it is
rips
just to
out,
re-
they're already
to-
fixed?
Yeah, the
Kind of to
patches,
regroup
patches
the
are done.
field,
It just
yeah.
needs to be, whatever, like
All right.
swept.
Worn in.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right, and then, no, we need to put additional pellets in, and it kind of regrooms the field.
Right, groom.
Because over the years, the pellets have worn down, and I really didn't think I was gonna get the price that I did. It's pretty, it was like over $13,000 to do it. And I was a little taken aback, because I thought it was gonna be something that we would just be able to do, but with it being $13,000, I believe I might have to get a couple more prices before I can move forward. So, With that being said, I do want to do it because it has not been done and needs to be done. And, you know, while we have the bid, I'd like to move forward one way or another with it. But we put new goals, nets, we've patched the holes because that was a safety concern. And what they said to us, the issues in front of the goal will be able to be better taken care of once they re-room the field, because it might just cover that up. So before they did anything there. So we're doing what we can there while we're still trying to allow leagues to play. But I don't want to postpone these leagues' games any further. So if the board wants me to move forward, I have no problem. If you want me to sit with the chair, or, you know, if the board wants to let the chair decide of, you know, whatever we come up with, that's fine too. But I just want you to know that probably the 10th and the 11th, which is this week, I have to issue them a temporary permit because they have games.
I appreciate the work you did, Nancy, on this schedule. I know how tough it is to sit there and mull this over and try and.
It was like the Da Vinci Code.
So I appreciate the work you did. As far as teams practicing, if we can't accommodate practices, then we don't accommodate practices. I'd rather see games played than practice. And I know you gotta practice, I understand, I coached soccer for years, I get it. But if it means losing out on games or rescheduling games because somebody wants to practice, I'm not in favor of that. I'd rather see those dates in question, if there's gonna be games, play games. I don't have a problem with this as presented, and I don't have a problem with Mrs. Smith, who does her job very well, to meet with the leagues on our behalf, or with the chairman. I have no problem with that, but I agree with her. You know, we gotta move forward. We're into April, spring is here, these leagues wanna play. I understand with COVID, just like baseball and every other sport, you know, people have been locked up for too long, they wanna get out and do things. And I agree with that. So I think, I don't have an issue with this, and I don't have an issue with Mrs. Smith, you know, fixing the little issues that are here. To me, it doesn't look like that many of them.
But you don't have the men's schedule there, so once the men play on Saturday night.
When you get that, that will open up. If they're playing, I don't know what the number is, because I didn't count it. But if it's 20 games, they're playing 20 away, 10 away, that opens up 10 dates for youth soccer or anybody else.
Well, then youth soccer is on here, the men's league is not. So what I have to do is add additional games to what you're seeing here.
Well, it says Fall River Men's, is that a different league?
There's a different league. It's Fall River Men's and Fall River Football, which
so
is actually
football's on Wednesdays. Fall River football's on Wednesdays, and they want time on the weekend. Also?
Yes.
They're on Mondays and Wednesdays.
They have requested Monday, Wednesday, and I contacted them and said, you know, last year you had just Wednesday. I know COVID opened up a lot of opportunities, but everybody is back again. And they're like, oh yeah, you're right, we did just have Wednesday. So,
well, if
it's
that's
like
what they've had in the past, then I believe people should get what they had in the past, as long as it's accommodating.
During the weeks of practice, Monday to Friday.
If they have Mondays, and now they're requesting extra time, we just don't have extra time. I'm sorry to say that, but it is what it is. And again, I appreciate what you've done, putting this together for us. And you know, it makes it much more clear, obviously, when you have it in front of you. And I don't have an issue, again, with Mrs. Smith sitting with the leagues and trying to work out whatever issues are left.
I know myself, I was discussing this with Mrs. Smith before, but you had just made a couple of good points with the practice. It's not me though.
Yes.
practices, you can practice pretty much anywhere.
Correct.
You can use some of our baseball fields.
No, we've
Not unless
been,
the
we've
board
been,
makes an exception.
we've been told we couldn't use any baseball fields, any school grounds, or any other parks.
So if I may, Nancy, we haven't taken Travassos' space into account with any of this.
I have with the Monday and Wednesday, I'm thinking of this gentleman that's using practice.
Okay, so the lighting we checked on today, there are a couple of things that need to be repaired, a switch out, and the lights are all in functioning order, and we have to fix the box on the outside of the building. At Travassos. Obviously, if the leagues want to use that field and the board deems it so, then lining the field, I don't believe, would be much of an issue. And I think, you know, a couple of nets, whether they need to be purchased or even borrowed from the school department possibly, or whatnot. I think we could probably put that together fairly quickly. I think that might alleviate some of Nancy's issues with trying to figure out scheduling.
Just so you know, I have reached out to Green Acres
Yeah.
for pricing
On-
for 2 permanent nets
Yeah.
and the lining of the field.
Okay, no, that's great. So
waiting for them
if
to
they
get
don't
back.
respond, then you know what, we'll look somewhere else. But at the end of the day, I think we can get our hands on a couple of nets, and if the leagues are willing to line the field, so be it. And if it's practice, they may not even necessarily need the lines. They could cone it out and do what they need to do. So I think Travassos, that availability will help this. So I just want to make sure that, I think everybody knows, I spoke to the electrical contractor today, and he's hoping by Friday to get there, fix that switch, and fix the box on the outside of the building. So I think early next week, or by the latest end of next week, that field and its lights will be ready to go. So Mrs. Smith can start to take that into account. So it's just something to keep in mind, that'll be available. We haven't used that field.
Just so you know, John, the issue is really not during the week, because I have taken into consideration of moving them to Travassos. The issue is Saturdays and Sundays, which is when the majority of games are played, and they're overlapping.
And you're using both fields on the Saturdays and Sundays?
Well, I don't think they would be able to use for some of the games. Is that an official size?
So at Britland, there's 2 sizes. So there's an 11v11, which is an official size, which you could line Travassos in both manners, actually.
Yeah,
So
big
at
enough.
Britland, we have 11v11 field, and then there's a 9v9 field within that. So there's literally
I thought
2
it was
fields in
smaller.
one.
No, Travassos is big enough.
So I believe
yeah.
Travassos is a full size.
Travassos
It
is
might
a
be
full-
smaller than Britland, because Britland, I think we went at full capacity, but there is a range when we line fields, and I
Okay.
believe you'd fit Travassos in.
All right, I know there was some
Right.
question as to
Yeah.
Portland in comparison to that.
So we haven't really utilized Travassos, that's field space for that soccer element yet. So if this is now, the leagues are starting to grow, there are more of them, and it's making it more and more difficult for Mrs. Smith to find field time for them, I think it's time we utilize that. But of course, it's the board's purview. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that we will be able to get Travassos in working order. And obviously, it's not Britland, and I think everybody understands that. But at the end of the day, it's going to give them space, and when you're a kid coming up playing sports, I really don't think you care whether it's at Britland or on a regular grass. As long as you get to kick that ball around, you're going to be okay. So-
I think most kids would prefer to play on nice grass
There you go,
versus turf field.
natural. So, you know what I mean? There you go, so.
Yes, it's actually,
Less on the
Less
joints and the knees, yeah. So
Well,
that's
remember
my
that.
2
We wanna
cents,
make
guys,
another one.
okay?
Yes.
So, I just wanted to make sure, okay?
That's what I was going was with using Travassos, either for games or practice and that. But now getting back to what I was asking about parks and underutilized baseball fields. We couldn't let them use that for the fields, for practice?
Mrs. Smith will.
That was a decision that the board
Right.
made, because what happened is when a baseball team was going out into the outfield of the baseball team, it's worn out in a different capacity than what, because of the soccer kicking, but whatever. They used to use Chupac, they used to use it for flag football, they used to use it, whatever, but it creates problems. So the board made an official vote that softball will be used for softball because of the pitching lengths, Little League would be used for Little League, baseball, men official over 12 baseball would be on the larger fields because the base paths are different. And with the wear and tear of the outfield, it was creating issues for baseball players in the end. So
Yeah.
I think with Travassos, we will be able to accommodate people. Maybe some of the kids, like you said, want to play. Maybe I work with Ed and say, what's best, where do you want to go? It'll free up whatever space. I mean, I personally think the men prefer the Britland Park, but I could be mistaken.
I'm sure.
Now, how long ago was that vote? Years ago?
It's been reiterated a few times because
What I'm just wondering is,
yeah.
you know, just like how Council Medina was saying, you have some of these fields that maybe need to be reconverted into
Yeah, well, you'd have to
soccer
identify.
fields, something they're underutilized from baseball, and that, the numbers are not there anymore, so.
I don't think
I'm
your
thinking of
baseball
a
fields are
spot.
underutilized. Maybe you have a few different little league, but I think Lafayette's used, Chew is used, Maplewood's used, and Kennedy's used. Those are your 4 baseball
What I'm
fields.
just thinking is maybe, what I was thinking is where the Great Holy Ghost Feast is. That's all that grass area. Why couldn't they set up homes there to practice?
Yeah, and we practice behind Britland too, so sometimes if there was too
There's a
many kids at
practice
Britland,
Right,
you know, we kind of
right.
go in that grass area behind.
Practice
You know,
field, yeah,
I think,
yes.
I think a field like along the lines of what Commissioner De Silva is pointing out would be, let's say, Cupola, right? We talked about Cupola. We have flooding issues there. It drains off. The stone dust is washing off into the walkway. You know, like Councilor Kadim was saying, you know, we knock down that fence, we take it down, we open it up, we put some grass on the infield as opposed to stone dust and see what it becomes at that point. There's a field that's not used. The league is defunct. I don't think we'll see any league there again.
We do
that
have a
might-
request for that.
Do you? All right, so maybe that doesn't work. But if it's a field that we can, well, yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's good. That's good. If you're gonna have another league, so be
If it's
it.
the one that I seen, I'm not gonna accept that, sorry. When there's one player from Fall River and
All right,
everybody
so
else is
whether
from
it's
Lakeville.
Cupola or any other field,
Sorry.
if you get to a point where you realize that field is gonna be non-used for that purpose anymore, then yeah, maybe
So-
that's a pilot we can try. One park at a time, try that, let's knock it down, let's see, whether it's field hockey
Now,
or,
what about like,
So with Commissioner De Silva saying that, where that particular league, he's not gonna approve it, it's one Fall River kid, that's not my place to approve or disapprove that permit. So I think that's something that this board is gonna have to address.
Of
Like I
course.
said, I'm not going to approve or deny based on, you know, that's this board's purview.
of course.
What I have no problem doing is trying to accommodate all games for, I mean, they have the numbers here. Some of these numbers are not what they are, but soccer is kind of intertwined between towns. So I don't know that you're gonna, other than Fall River Youth Soccer, find a group, and the men's league that come from a particular, the Laza group or whatever, those are Fall River people, but they too are playing out-of-town teams are coming. So we just need to understand that when someone says there's out-of-town teams on the field, that happens because they interplay.
no, what I'm getting at is I understand playing interleagues and everything else. Playing against Swan, playing against Swan. Team's gonna visit. I'm saying is when you wanna use a Fall River field and your team is pretty much all from Lakeville and Woonsockets and everything else, why are you not requesting them? Why? Because they charge.
There is a men's league, I don't know if it's Laza, but there is a men's team, not the new Fall River one, but I think one that was there before, that is based out of New Bedford, that uses Britland and calls it its home field. So it is no longer based out of Fall River, but things have changed, to your point, things have changed over time and maybe never really looked at it again, right? But I agree with Nancy said, I mean, games first, right? We always schedule games on Saturdays and Sundays, and at times, sometimes we take away practices from our own teams because we have to schedule something on a Friday night. But there's plenty of time on Saturday and Sunday to work things in. I know that because of COVID, we have a 20 to 30 minute in between each game, so we have parents and players leave so that new parents and players come in. And if we have to take it, you know, week to week or month to month, you know, as long as we have enough time.
I would like not to take, I would like to settle you within the
Okay,
next
I appreciate that.
couple of weeks through July, because I don't want it to linger on. But if there's a particular item that the board has an issue with or awarding, they need to let me know so that I don't bring that person
Sure.
to the table to have this discussion of games. So I don't know how, you have the numbers for the soccer leagues specifically on this paper, how many are from Fall River, how many are not. The league, I believe you're referring to as the baseball request. So I would like to at least settle the soccer leagues and settle the main baseball leagues as quickly as we can. And maybe the board has a special meeting to call whoever it is that you don't think you want to award these permits to. I don't know. But I think as a courtesy, we need to let them know that we don't have a place, or we don't feel that they have enough of Fall River people on their teams. I think that, so that they can at least
Give
go
them
look
time to go
someplace
find
else.
something else, yeah.
What I was trying to say is, we get, because that way we're not overlapping that. If we use pretty much Britland for games amongst all the leagues, and also Tavassos, it's what they're saying about the practice and that. Are we gonna have enough space between the both facilities for them to practice? Because like Mr. Commissioner Silver said, the game's the most important thing.
So you're thinking just strictly games at Britland and practices at Travasso?
Or
I think
they
that'd
can,
be
if they can work it out that they can have games at both
I think as
and
Miss-
practice at both.
I think as Mrs. Smith just said, I mean, she'd be willing to work with them to figure out which field is best for them. Maybe certain teams want to play on certain fields and work it out that way. I think you pigeonhole.
Or half and half, maybe a
I think
team
you
plays
I think
half
you
of their
pigeonhole
games.
yourself into being stuck to only games here or only practices there. I think if you let both fields be played for either or, it gives Mrs. Smith more of a leeway to kind of schedule what needs to be scheduled.
Well, the
And
only-
as long as the leagues work with her, I think she'll be able to
The
figure that out.
only issue with that is when you split the leagues, they now need to be given 2 keys to the lighting, so.
Well, to Commissioner Sylvia's point in the beginning here, I mean, you know, there are requirements for that over the years haven't been followed, to Mrs. Smith's frustration, and I understand it and empathize with that. So I think if this board puts its foot down, and then make sure that maybe there needs to be a rule put on from the board that is a monetary fine for individuals who don't turn in their keys, or things of that nature, where there is a consequence if you do not return the park department or park board's property, i.e. keys or whatever it may be, equipment, nets, whatever we provide that they don't return that it's supposed to be. Maybe that's a discussion that needs to be had. And that'll put the onus on them to make sure they do the right thing. And then if they don't do the right thing, the board also has the purview to go forward and not approve their permits in the future. But if somebody sees that, then there's always an example, correct? So if the board sees, or the league see rather, that one league lost their permit and didn't get it back because they didn't do the right thing, I think that's going to catch their attention. You know, unfortunately, sometimes you have to do these things, and I see the frustration building, and I can sense it. So I think the support of this board for Mrs. Smith and the scheduling and working with all of these leagues, I see it on a daily basis. We talk a lot about it. You know, this body comes here, and I know you all care, but it's once a month. Mrs. Smith is dealing with it on a daily basis. So the support from this board to make sure that the rules that are supposed to be followed, regardless of whatever pressure is put on from outside agencies, are followed so that she can do her job the way she needs to do it. I think, and then that what I feel and what I see needs to change. You know, that hard-nosed or hard-lined approach as far as if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you will not get your permit, and that'll be it. Now, that's just, again, my 2 cents, but these are the things I see, and I think some of it can be helped. It may be a process, get their attention, make sure they know. It'll be a discussion as to what a penalty would be if they don't turn in their keys, and again, she brings up the good points because it are problems. You hand out a set of keys, you don't get it back. Now you're handing out 2 sets of keys, and you're not going to get that back. Now we're changing locks and having to run to the field to open things, so she's right. But I think we need to have that discussion and move forward with a different kind of mentality as to what's required, and if it's not given, what the board decides they're going to do.
I think they all need to follow the rules.
I agree.
When she sets a rule, that's it. You don't follow the rule, you don't get your permit.
So,
You know, and I don't disagree with everything you said.
well, just most of it.
No, some of it.
I'm only kidding.
Okay? Because here's a fact.
Mhm.
This board in the past and now has made rules that don't get followed, and then when we try and reason with people and explain to them that you're not gonna get a permit if this happens or that happens, we're deemed as difficult, hard to get along with, don't care, and whatever other description people put on us. And then they go running up to the administration, and you know, we're the bad people all the time. And, you know, it's getting, like you said, I'll use your word, frustrating. Well, I've been frustrated for a lot of years, over 25 years on this board. And it's like, nobody listens. How many meetings do we say, get your paperwork in, do this, do that, or this is gonna happen? I don't wanna tell kids they can't play. I don't wanna not give anybody a permit. But, what's it gonna take to make the people who run these leagues do what they're supposed to do? I don't disagree with you, John.
No, I know.
Only some of it.
No, and I understand exactly where you're coming from. I've
And
worked.
Mrs. Smith does a terrific job
Absolutely,
on a
absolutely.
daily basis, because I know I go down that office once in a while to pick up something or speak to her. I know what she does.
Yep.
Okay? I won't speak for my colleagues, but I've seen it over the years.
So-
She does a terrific job, and she
Absolutely.
deserves to be paid more.
She does an excellent job, and I appreciate her and the job that she does, absolutely. And I understand the frustration, and I know where it comes from. We didn't get here overnight. I've spent a significant amount of time working with Mrs. Smith to try to get us to a better place, to where the board's part in all of this is respected. So, you know, we got to continue to try to work that. If we throw our hands up and say, okay, that's it, because no matter what we do, we're going to get it from whatever administration, and they're just going to let it happen, then we lose, and it doesn't go anywhere. Maybe, the thought process can be going forward if it's something along that lines where we know that it's ABC Little League, and they haven't turned in their paperwork, and they're not going to get their permit. We take the action to notify the administration that the board's rules are not being followed, and this league will not get its permit due to these reasons. Now, when that phone call from ABC Little League comes to the administration, they will already have been informed that this is a problem. And so when they call you, you already have our side of the story, all right? Because most of the time, and I've seen it here many times, Commissioner Sylvia, I think you'll agree with me, it's on the agenda. Not a single person from that particular league may show up to even voice their concerns or voice their opinion why they deserve a permit. The permit's denied for some reason, whether it be paperwork or anything else, and then that league goes in and tries to circumvent the process. You know, is it our fault they didn't show up? No. But at the same time, as soon as we know these things, I think communication both ways, it will help.
And I want to make it clear, I'm not blaming this administration.
No, this
has been going on for years and years and years.
I get it.
Okay? I mean, I go back to Commissioner Amaral, who was the chairman for many years on this board, and it goes back that far.
It didn't get this way overnight, and to your point, and I don't think we fix it overnight. But if we just if we give up trying to fix it,
yeah, we're not going to fix it overnight.
Yep.
But we've been working on these issues for years.
Yep.
John, you've been here for years. You know that.
I know.
You know, and you know, they circumvent the system, and they go above and beyond this board, and again, we're labeled as difficult to get along with and other things. You know, it's just, it's amazing how that happens. Follow the rules, and everything would be fine.
No, I understand. You
know, I just don't get it. And again, maybe my days are numbered here, I don't know.
So getting back to April, with Tavassos and with Britland, games, check with all the leagues to see what they want to do and practice. I'm just more concerned with, I want the games, but also if they need to place practice, I would like to see like an alternative area for them to play, to practice.
Britland, Travassos, and then a possible alternate.
A park or something, yeah.
Okay, so I think maybe we need to start having the discussions
and
internally.
Let me reiterate. I'd rather have youth soccer in a park, not men's leagues running around the parks and everything.
Yep, no. I think then we need to seek out that alternate area.
Yep.
I think that discussion has to be considered internally. Where is it gonna be? Which park are we gonna use? Is it a repurposed outfield that's not being used? We dedicate the area outside of Britland that they use, as Eddie said, you know, from time to time when they have an overflow of kids or men playing. you know, but say, okay, this is that dedicated third location, that worst case scenario, you need a place to get practice in, or a 9-on-9 where it can be a smaller area, then you can use that. So, you know, but setting the 2 fields and getting Travassos up and running first and foremost, that hasn't been used all these years, is a huge part. That third field, I think we can definitely work on identifying that location and trying to make that happen.
Question. How many how many teams do you have in your league for youth soccer?
13 right now.
So they all like pretty much practice almost every night or every other night or something?
So usually, we usually tell them to have 1 practice night at Rutland, because that was like the nice field. And then if they wanted to practice somewhere else, at a different night, they would have to find another place to practice.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, is like,
But we do split the field up. We have as many as 3 teams at Rutland at a given time. So if we have smaller teams, like little guys, you know, you can put 4 teams on there. But generally, we never have just 1 team at Rutland. At the least, you're looking at 2 teams, and then there's times where there's only 2 teams practicing, so one grabs one net, one grabs another net, one grabs in the middle, and sometimes you'll get some kids that, you know, just show up to come and play, and they'll grab another corner or whatever. So we generally have, on average, 2 to 3 teams at Rutland during the week.
Yeah. You guys usually played up at Meridian Street too, right? School?
Yes, so we have, I didn't want to interrupt. So we have Sylvia School as well.
Sylvia School.
So this year, we are actually redoing all of the fields.
Okay.
So we shut down the fields last fall and reseeded, and we're just trying to get some growth so that we can have that field back again come this fall.
The reason why I brought that up is the park that we have up on Meridian Street.
That's
Sousa Field.
Davis Playground.
Davis Playground, is that just grass?
There's a small playground there, but it's a wide open expanse of field, yeah.
Yeah, there's a baseball
There's a-
field
there's-
that's open.
Yeah.
We've
so-
gone there, we've been told not to use that.
Not by me.
No.
I'd like to reiterate
No, it'd be,
that.
No, it wasn't Mike.
I think over there your issue is parking.
I think it was parents too. I think
Parents.
there's houses that are pretty
Parents,
close there.
parking, you know, it'd be kind of tough to fit, you know, 2 soccer teams worth of cars over there, so, I think they'd probably end up lined up along Meridian, but it is a good space. It's just it presents its own unique challenges.
Now what about not Columbus, Ruggles, since softball's not playing them up?
I don't think that field would be big enough for them. I think you'd have to drop the fence down to get that space.
Or the Lower Kennedy.
Lower Kennedy, the softball field, if you, again, if you drop the fence, though, Commissioner,
I'm talking about the way down low.
Oh, the overlook?
Yeah.
It's not conditioned for that. No, there'd be a ton of work that needs to be done to be able to even get that to be level in grass. If you're talking about the softball field that's not used anymore, again, you look at the softball fields, you're gonna have to drop the fences, right? So you start dropping fences, pulling out poles, you're officially, you know, removing that ball field and never to be had again, you know, because the cost to get it back up and running would be another thing, significant. So again, I think that internal discussion as far as to where that other area, that alternative site is, I think we need to start thinking about it. You're throwing out some right now, maybe there's a few we're not even thinking about, but I think we start that conversation now and try to move forward with what we have.
I'm just saying this because I know like when my son played in T-ball at Maplewood, they just like the coach had a practice right on the side of the tennis courts, right at the bottom of the grass.
And like Eddie said, I think the little guys,
a little area like that. It's like,
And we used to use BCC years ago, too. They had that small field that's too small for the actual, their own league. So some of the, I mean, I used to practice there with when my kids were little, so that's.
yeah, the little guys, you can kind of squeeze in a bit more. It's easier. And I coached youth sports as well, so he's right. You know, you get bigger guys and they got to move around. It's a little different. But when you get the little guys, you can put them in groups and they practice their drills and they do what they got to do. But it's not conducive to having, you know, you need that space to be able to operate, you know. I mean, these guys are moving, and you don't just stop on a dime, so I'd hate to see them running into fences or off into the woods, yeah. So, I mean, I think, again, we search for that alternate site if you feel you want a third site, just in case. We try to figure out where that is, and then, as a board, we try to decide if, you know, taking down one of the softball fields that's not in use, or ball fields, is what you want to do. Then we seriously look at that. But with that, we'll have to look at cost for knocking down the fence, taking out the posts, redoing the holes, right? So when you take out the posts, you got the cement column at the bottom, you're gonna have to backfill that, compact it, plant grass. So there is a cost, so we just have to look at that as well. So, but I don't think it's impossible. I just think it's something that needs to still continue to be
I'm just
discussed.
thinking is like what Councilor Kadim had mentioned a couple of times, is like maybe converting some of these fields into all-purpose fields.
And that's great. Again, though, I think right now we're in the process of that discussion as far as what are we going to do? Because if we do that, to repurpose a field for multi-use, that's gonna cost, okay? That's a cost. So do we have the funds for that? Are those funds gonna be supported once we see where we're at budget-wise and things of that nature? So I think, you know, it's a good idea, and I think you agree with it, and I think, you know, I even agree with it. But to do that, it's easy to say we're gonna do this, but we need to be realistic about whether we can financially and logistically make it happen. So, again, I think we're a little ways from the end of that discussion, but I think it's a good start that we're already this far down the road of actually saying, okay, I think everybody's kind of on board with something like that. We got a field that's not being used and we can turn it into something else, great. But how do we do that financially and logistically?
I know, like, we were talking about it yesterday, like, the numbers are down in baseball and that, and a lot of the leagues have folded and everything. I just don't want to have all these baseball fields that are empty all over the place, underutilized, and
Understood, yeah.
then they're eyesores
Yep.
in the parks.
Yep, no,
Right, but
okay.
you also don't want to have where you get rid of all your baseball fields,
Yep.
and then it makes a surge again, and now you've gotten rid of all of them. Do I think we have
You pick one.
inconsistency of baseball fields to soccer fields right now? But we just heard from Mr. Almeida that soccer took a little bit of a hit as well. So I think right now, we will be okay using Britland and Travassos, but we need to sit down and decide who can play where.
Yep.
Because the minute I take one league and leave them here and move the other league to Travassos, what Jeff said is gonna happen. The phone calls are gonna start, so I need to have these conversations with the groups to see, are you willing to either utilize both, or everyone play their games at one site and practice at another, or, you know, like Jeff said, the procedure has always been, if you had it before, you have it again. Maybe you don't need it to be at Britland Monday, Tuesday, Friday. Maybe you go there Monday and Friday, and Tuesday you take your little guys to Travassos or whatever. So with what we're saying here, I'm gonna have to completely meet with all these groups again and see who can move to where. But before I can do that, I need everybody's games.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do it to a point, like, so people don't not play their games, but I need that. It's crucial that the information come in.
Everybody's games, and again, to the point I made earlier, this board support, right? So, all due respect to everybody, but if there's one of those three, is it 3 or 4 soccer teams we're talking here?
Nor'easter, Fall River, and 2 men's leagues.
And
So
then
then
one more,
Alex.
Alex,
All right,
I don't know who he
so
is.
5. If 2 of those 5 leagues say, you know what, I'm not playing on Travassos Field, that's crap, I want Britland. Well, I'm sorry, you don't have the choice, okay? The board is saying, this is the field time, this is where it is, this is what we gotta break up. If you don't wanna play at Travassos, then you can fit in where you fit in at Britland, and we'll give your time at Travassos away to somebody else. But as long as the board supports Mr. Smith in that scheduling, and she legitimately, which she will, work with them leagues. If the leagues don't wanna work with her and just refuse to play somewhere, well then, the only option is what we have left for you. So hopefully it won't come to that, but it's just,
And we also have to consider that we don't really have maintenance besides grooming for a couple of hours at Britland Park. Soccer being played there, the grass is gonna wear, the goal areas are gonna wear, you know.
Yeah, it will be a significant cost, because we do pay for that at Sylvia. We're probably spending somewhere around $7,000 a year. Just
so
regular-
will the league absorb that? Is that what you're thinking?
I
Well,
don't
not
know.
if everybody's on that, it'll be difficult to say.
Okay, so, well, then.
Where is this, at Britland or Travassos?
Travassos.
So Travassos and
It's
Travassos.
gonna-
and
'cause
I
it's
believe
grass, it's gonna wear.
It's irrigated, correct, is it not, at Travassos? I
No,
believe there's
not
irrigation?
there,
Oh,
no,
okay.
not out there. So, no irrigation, but, okay, if there's 5 leagues, they're all playing on there,
It's gonna take a beating.
it's going to take a beating, and you know what, maybe the cost of it could be split amongst the leagues, if that's something they chose. You know, I think we can figure that out, and I don't think it's not gonna be beat immediately. It's gonna take some time, so in that time period, while you're getting your games going and starting your seasons, again, another discussion that has to be had, one more thing to talk about. But that's why we're here, right? So, you know, we're opening up another field to give more field time for more teams that want to play now. With that comes this byproduct of that particular field is natural grass. It's going to take a beating. So now we have to figure out what we're going to do about that. But again, we can't just throw up our hands and say we're not going to do anything, because then it's just going to be, the field's going to get beat up and we're not going to be able to, you know, we're not going to be able to keep up with it.
I just wanted to make.
No, you're
note
right.
that
You're,
there is a
no,
cost,
Nancy,
and
listen,
it's going to
I
be-
didn't even think about it, so it's a great point, but all I'm saying is we can't just look at that and say, well, because of that, we're not going to do it.
And again.
In my opinion, anyway.
Again, we recently heard that, you know, that they don't really feel that leagues should pay for city
Okay,
property to
so
be maintained, so we have to cross that
I've said
bridge.
my piece, but we'll have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm here for Fall River Soccer, right? So that's the only, so within the city, that's the only
Yes.
town organization. Nor'easter and the other one, obviously, that I can't speak for the men's league, and Nor'easter is a club, you know, so anyone from outside can join Nor'easter. It is, I think it was a Fall River based, originally was the old Academica. Over the years, it's merged into, and been purchased.
Nor'easter
but-
is kids though,
It's
aren't they?
kids, yes, it's kids, it's kids. I think it goes all the way up to U18. But as a club, it's not affiliated with Fall River Soccer. We're just town travel, basically, playing against other towns in southeastern Massachusetts. In the Cape.
Who's been the ones that, with Britland, well, in the city, the longest?
In the what?
The city and at the longest. Like, who's like, what teams have been?
Well, the men's league
the
have been
division-
around for
Men's-
forever. I mean, I known of men's league before the youth leagues even came in.
Yeah.
And that was a thing where the youth league came forward with, you know, the information of, you know, there's a grant for this soccer field.
Yeah.
We had to sit down and make sure that the youth league was not gonna displace the men's league, and we had that conversation. And that's who the majority of games are between, Fall River, the youth kids, and the men's leagues on Sunday and Saturday nights. So, like I said, I did reach out to the men's league again. I told them that it was, you know, imperative that I get their information. I need that information. If not, then maybe the board says, listen, not available, go somewhere else. You didn't get your information in on time. Like Mr. Perry said, maybe the board has to put their foot down and say, enough is enough. We gave you enough time to turn in your schedule, and at this point, try to reschedule your games. This is what's open, this is what's open, this is what's open. We can't keep the schedule open forever because people don't have their games.
And going back in time, I remember watching these meetings and that it was youth soccer in the men's league and that went after that grant and like was like part of it with the city and that. So my thing is, I think they should be kind of entitled to Britland. And anybody new, you go to Tavassos or wherever we have available.
Well, unless
I
he's
guess-
saying some of his kids
Or if
might
he
want to
want-
play
if
there.
they wanna go
I
to-
don't want to take
if they
that
wanna
away.
go to-
Honestly, I think it's first come, first serve. You get your schedule in on time.
Yep.
You get whatever you want Britland, we
Yep.
put you in Britland. But if you're waiting till last minute, you're not gonna, even if you've been in the
Mhm.
league for 20 years.
Yep.
If you're not putting your stuff in on time or giving the schedule, like when you're needy, you're reaching out, they're not getting back to you. Like he said, you're over at Travassos, you don't like it, find
Yep.
somewhere else.
Yep.
But what
I
they're
feel like
saying
it's a
is
lot
they're-
more stress than any of us need to be
Yep.
worried about, honestly. I feel like it's
They
very
say that
simple.
I know they get schedules from other organizations, right? When they belong to a certain, like you guys get your schedules sometimes from an affiliation.
Yeah,
or-
so
they say the affiliation hasn't given us our schedule yet.
Cool.
So for Fall River, I'm lucky to do all the scheduling. So I do all the scheduling with some other colleagues for all of our teams across the board. Those are just for the home games. So we schedule all the home games. Once the schedule is up and running, I go ahead and I just schedule for the entire season. It's done for the whole year. For like Nor'easter and Men's League, they're affiliated with another league, and maybe that league is responsible for saying, okay, here's now your home games, right? I have that control because I'm part of, you know, I'm in the city of Fall River, it's our kids. So
Yep.
as soon as the schedule's live, I go in and I already know that we're gonna have this conversation. So I go in and say, okay, let's just schedule our times like we normally have.
Yep.
I don't go over that 5 o'clock hour or, you know, and anytime we have to reschedule, because there are other leagues, I'll either reach out to Nancy and say, hey, what else is available, these kids can't come, whatever.
So the board can basically say, Fall River Youth Soccer has their schedule in, their games are going in,
Yep.
and if,
Yes.
whoever else will work around it, your practices may not be between 1 and 8, but whatever games you have in right now for April, May, and June, they will be awarded. Everyone else, be it because they weren't there before, or but because they don't have their schedule in, has to work around it. So at this point, if the board wants to say, award Fall River Youth Soccer all their dates for games, and if you want to move some of them to Travassos, that's your,
Yep,
you
I'll
can
let you
speak
know.
with me about it, but
Yeah.
if you're telling me to go forward and work with Fall River Youth Soccer for their games, I will do that. We will utilize both. I would think April, I would keep them all at Britling, because I don't know how quickly that's gonna
Yeah,
happen at
same.
Travassos, and I don't want it to be anything where it's delaying you. So I would pretty much keep my games, or you can do them all there and move them after we know Travassos is set, and give up the time. So if that's what the board would like to make a motion and
I would-
second on, I don't have an issue.
Can I get a
We'll award
motion?
Fall
Yes.
River
I want
Youth
to make
Soccer.
that motion, and I also want to say, if there is anyone who has any complaints about this, let them know, hey, I understand you're waiting for X, Y, and Z to give you the schedule to give to us. You let them know, you need it by this date. If it's not by that date, then you're going to lose the field. Or you're going to have less of an options of what the fields that you have. That's the only thing I can say, because it's at the point where we're sitting here for hours, waiting for people to give us emails, and they're not giving. I understand if it's not within their control, well, they need to go to that other person and bother them then, because it's just taking up time for people, or even other leagues that could have put things forward that haven't yet either. Everyone just needs to get their stuff together so that we can move forward and go about our business.
Could I ask that the request is to obviously have to grant the games that we have right now, schedule at Britling, and then practice times that we normally practice, unless a game comes up and we need to move kids off the practice and have that game.
So you want your normal, you would like the board to vote on your Monday, Tuesday, Friday practice?
Yep.
And your games on, that are
Saturday and Sunday.
scheduled on Saturday and Sunday?
Yep.
And then the others will work them around for.
Right, if there's a game that needs to be on a Monday or practice
I
time,
don't
let
know
us,
of any games during the week.
let us know and we'll move kids.
And then we can have you move to an alternative practice
Yeah.
facility.
We say games come first over
Yep.
practices.
I make a motion.
Commissioner, before we have, Commissioner Sylvia had a question.
I'll second Commissioner Bennett'
Okay.
motion, but I want to make a point.
Mhm.
We talk about following rules and having leagues do what they're supposed to do. In the minutes from the last meeting, leagues are supposed to turn in their schedules by a certain date. I heard last night at the council meeting, leagues don't turn in what they're supposed to. So again, it goes back to following rules. If there's a league on here that hasn't turned in their schedule, sorry, you're gonna get what's left. That's my opinion. Two occasions in the last, since the first of the year, leagues were supposed to turn in their needs, their dates, etc., and haven't. We extended it a couple of meetings ago to a couple of weeks ago,
And now,
and they
as,
still didn't do that.
and now as of last
And
night,
now we're here, like Commissioner Byrne said, sitting here for hours debating it. Well, I believe that Ms. Smith should be able to work with these leagues on behalf of this board and do what they gotta do. And if you didn't turn in your schedule, you're gonna get what's left, if there's anything left.
and now as of last night, at the council meeting you were there in attendance. This goes out to all the leagues. She's gonna request for your banners, lighting, your needs and everything. You ought to turn that in as soon as possible. The council wants that. If you want them to help you in that, they need the numbers. There's nothing to hide in that. Just be honest in that and just turn your stuff in.
So, I'll second Commissioner Burns' motion.
Motion to give Fall River Youth Soccer all their dates and times for practices and games. And if there's any games that have to be, practices that have to be changed to games, they'll find an alternative area to practice. Make that motion. Commissioner Burns
Hold on a
makes.
second.
Do we want to
Oh,
approve
sorry.
all the practices for
Yes.
what they had last year, which would be there is no, I don't see any conflict there. If this new group goes to Travassos, then everyone who has been there in the past can have their practice dates and times, where Nor'easter would be there on Thursdays, the two men's league would Nor'easter comes with a bunch of groups. The two men's league would be there splitting the field on Thursday, then the men on Wednesday. So Monday through Friday would have the schedule of practices. It's just working out games on Saturday and Sunday. So if the board wants to approve the practice schedules of previous years, I guess you could say that, whoever had it before has it again, and then we will work out the Saturday and Sunday. The new team will go to Travasos. If we want to do that the way it is, and then the only thing that I have to work out is Saturday and Sunday games.
Yep.
And that's that. And then we have to do, I'll have to pass out keys to the lights, I guess, as I used to do.
You had a question?
Lights.
That's what he said.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what I do is I normally have the group come in, sign for a particular key. At the end of the year, they have to turn the key back in.
And what's the fine if they don't?
If they, and also if
A
they lose
slap
it.
a slap on the
Well, then
wrist.
we need
I think
to-
we had to pay for a new key one year, we lost it.
I was gonna say, I
It
think
was-
whatever
it
the
was
cost,
keys in
What the-
I think
what
whatever
the-
the cost is to get all new keys
Yeah.
and a rekey should be
What
what we
the
finance.
document that they sign, and I will email it to the board, the document that I prepared that they sign is if they lose the key, we haven't locked the gates either. That's another thing. Are we gonna lock the gates? But that, please, we
I
don't
was
wanna
gonna
go
say,
on with
anybody got time
that.
for
So, the keys, if they lost the keys, they had to pay to rekey all the locks and for enough of keys to go around for everybody to, that's in the document that I prepared that they sign.
I think we should put an actual dollar amount to it. I don't know if like an estimate, just so that they know like this is what it's gonna be, and so they don't come back and say like, oh, I've got a guy, like it's gotta be official.
No, it has to, they can't,
Okay.
because these keys cannot be duplicated.
There's special,
Okay.
like,
They're
calls.
special
Okay.
keys, and you have to go to only
Oh,
one
okay.
locksmith to get it, and they
Okay.
need to call me if you're going to make a key.
Okay.
So they can't just go and make a key.
Okay.
So
Commissioner
that's,
Burns was saying, can you get
down that road.
Can you get that price though from him? Or a
I
ballpark
can
figure?
get a ballpark,
I
because
just
I'm
think
sure,
it would, just to protect everyone, if there's an actual, like, which is an estimated cost of yada yada on whatever they're signing, so that it's like, it's
Right.
right here, you signed it. You
right
can't-
now, it wouldn't include rekeying the locks, though, so it probably wouldn't be that much. It's probably a $10 or $12 key, so, I mean, we can cross that bridge at another
gonna
time.
say.
I will bring that document
Add a
to the
few
next
zeros
meeting.
to the end, maybe
No,
they'll turn
I will
their
bring
key.
that document to the next meeting and find out a price of what it would cost, and then the board can determine if they're gonna lock the gates, unlock the
Okay.
gates, how that's gonna work. But I think for today, like you said, enough.
All right, so the motion was to
I need a
motion I made was, to
All
keep
practice
all
times.
practice times from Monday through Friday as is, with everybody that's on the schedule. And then Saturdays and Sundays will be determined by Ms. Smith to work with the leagues to make sure the games are not, and if there's any conflicts, then they'll have to go. And then the new team will go at Travasos.
And excluding Fall River Youth Soccer, whose
Excluding
games
Fall-
will be awarded for Saturday and Sunday today.
Yep.
Okay, is that the motion?
Yeah.
Yes.
Motion, okay, seconded
Second.
by Commissioner Sylvia. Roll call vote, Commissioner Burns,
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia,
Yes.
Commissioner Farias.
Yes.
Commissioner De Silva, as you know, Commissioner Rigo had to leave. Okay, that's all set. Do we have anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Any commissioner inquiries?
Before I just have one thing. Can we get a list of leagues that have not turned in all their paperwork?
Yeah, what are you considering not turning all the paperwork? Banners, schedules, because the leagues, some of the leagues are still.
Schedules, I can understand letting slide because of COVID, and things are still up in the air. Can leagues open up their concession stands, things like that? It's probably gonna change again with the state. So I can be flexible. I'm talking about rosters.
Those are in. Those are in.
Every single league that apply?
I have, the men's league, one of their 2 rosters are in. I don't have adult softball rosters. Little leagues, Maplewood, National, Federal, they're all in.
When are we approving baseball leagues?
You can approve them whenever you want, but I don't have schedules. If you're looking to do schedule, you can approve the baseball as well, but they're not gonna interfere with anybody. So if you're gonna give them the blanket permits like they've had, you can approve them tonight as well.
Certificate of solicitations, things like that?
Certificate of solicitation, I have from all the little leagues. I have an email from Dumont, National Little League, saying that they are in the process. I can forward that email. I think I'm not sure if I gave it Commissioner De Silva. I can forward it to the board and see if that's acceptable, because I know that the board had said if you provide some type of documentation from
Yeah, I'm fine with that. If you have that, I'm fine with
I
that.
have an email, yep.
I understand that the state is behind and, you know,
Well, I have them from the rest. I do have them from the rest, and one of the soccer
So
clubs.
if we vote on baseball fields today, they have everything except schedules, for the most part.
For the most part. There is one baseball league that the roster has one Fall River person. So I don't know what the board wants to do
One on the
about that.
whole team, or the
One
whole
on the
league?
whole
There,
team.
it's only a team. It's not a league.
It's a
It's a team,
traveling
and
team.
one on
It's a
the
tra-
whole
it's a-
team is from Fall River.
Yes, it's a traveling team, or AAU or something like that. But there's only one player from Fall River. The
And they
rest
wanna
are
fall,
from
and they
the-
wanna use the Fall River
They wanna
field.
use Cupola Field, which is a softball field, not a baseball field.
Again, I'm gonna be the unpopular guy. I have a problem with that. Right? We're gonna give out city fields to people out of town.
So the only thing I can do is if the board at their next meeting wants to call that particular person in before they award any type of, we can have him come in. It'll delay him. It's for practice anyway. It's not for games. So if
Is it
you want
a
to have him
baseball-
come before
baseball
you.
or softball?
It's an 12U AAU team.
Baseball, okay. Oh, I'm not prepared to vote for that one.
No, so
We
I'm
can vote on
saying
the
if
other
you
one
want
then.
that person to come before you and to present why wants those fields, I can tell
Sure, I would
him.
like to know why, after all these discussions we've had over the last several years about following rules and about residency,
Well,
and
this
and
person
making
is
sure-
new. They've never
I was
applied
gonna say,
before.
They've never applied. Can I have the team name?
I don't, I wanted to say Stingrays or?
Stingrays, I think it is.
Should we just put this on the agenda for next?
Yes.
meeting?
Yes.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
don't-
have enough information for this.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. Do you
Just
want
like
this gentleman, I can invite him to the next
I say
meeting.
we put all of the leagues on next meeting.
Yeah.
Not to, I just feel like to vote on something without anything in front of us or anything like that, I don't think it's feasible.
You're talking about all the baseball?
If
Yes.
that's, yeah.
But I
Well, the
think
baseball
some-
leagues
Some of
that-
them, they were gonna have their opening days, like.
Yeah, baseball will start in
Couple
April.
weeks.
None of them have changed. The only thing that would change with them is once they submit their game schedules and their practice schedules to you, whether the board adjusted the blanket permits.
Okay.
If baseball meets the criteria, except for schedules, I don't have an issue with that.
They do,
Except for that roster that has one Fall River player.
right, which
And-
that
and
can
if
be
if
delayed.
my
That can come
colleagues-
next month.
If my colleagues would like that gentleman to come before this board, I have no problem with that.
And the adult softball, I don't believe they start until May.
Yeah, they
That's
don't
probably
start.
why I don't have rosters, but usually I get them.
I know Mr. Patello had a question.
The reason why I'm here for my permits is that team you're talking about, we started our practices on a senior field, big field. I didn't have a permit. I went there yesterday. I don't have a permit in my hand. They were on the field. They got off nicely. There was a couple that had, some issues with me. I told them who I was. They ended up leaving, but they took their time, but without anything in my hand, it's free game. You know what I mean? So we've started, our seniors have started yesterday, and that was the team that was on the field yesterday. So I guess they're going around looking for an empty field, and they're going on it, and that's it.
Maplewood and Federal and National are teams that have been here
Yeah.
forever. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't know what National or Dumont is doing right now with the construction on their fields. So I think that interleague playing, they start in Swansea, so they might not be back to their fields for a couple of
They
weeks.
start the 9th.
Which
It's
will
Friday.
allow them.
Up
So
there.
I don't see a problem, because those are permits that have, again, happened through the year. The only thing that the board can do is if they find there's an issue with it, then I guess they can adjust it,
I
but,
don't have a problem with some of their teams. I do have a problem with their AAU team.
well, the AAU team is not, you can hold off on that, because
I
that's an
wanna hold
adult
off on that.
league, and they don't start until, although maybe the 14U AAU team would play. I can have them come in regarding the AAU permit as
Yeah.
well, so we can
Because
have
my thing is,
those are both AAU teams, we can have them both come in next month.
I want AAU teams because after talking to other league presidents and that, people were grandfathered in that moved from Fall River to other towns and that, they were grandfathered in. If you're recruiting kids from Woonsocket, Attleboro's, everything, I have a problem with that. Why can't you recruit 2 or 3 kids from Fall River to make up your team?
So if the board would like to award the normal Maplewood, Dumont, and
Yes.
federal baseball permits, we can also do that without
Uh,
incident, because we are in constant touch with them.
The other thing too is with the blanket permits, I don't want, just saying, I think we're gonna have to do it by leagues, how many players they have and everything. Because unfortunately, the taxpayers need time to play too. The average Joe wants to go play a game and that. I don't want leagues having a field from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night.
Well, do you want
If
to
they don't
issue a
need that.
temporary permit for the month of April until
Yeah.
they provide us with rosters and
Yep.
schedules? That's
Yep.
the only other alternative.
I make a motion to, oh, go ahead. Oh, sorry. A blanket permit for the month of April for Dumont, Maplewood. Is there
And,
another one?
federal.
And federal.
I'll second that motion.
I'll actually overlap it to a little further than April, so that they'll have it.
Or enough for.
Yeah,
May
till
fifth.
till our next board meeting.
Okay.
So,
It's Amber, do we have a second?
Commissioner Burns, you had a question?
No, just named Victor.
Yeah.
Victor second.
Commissioner Burns made that motion to have a blanket permit for Dumont Field,
Maplewood.
Maplewood, and, well, actually, it's national for Dumont Field, Maplewood, and then federal for Kennedy. And then Commissioner Farias seconded. Roll call vote, Commissioner Burns,
Yes.
Commissioner Farias,
Yes.
Commissioner Sylvia,
Yes.
Commissioner De Silva, yes.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
We make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call vote, Commissioner Burns,
Yes.
Commissioner Farias,
Yes.
Commissioner De Silva,
Yes.
Commissioner De Silva, yes.